Hi, everyone. I'm Lorie Fiber from IBM Watson Health. I'm going to talk about IBM's perspective on AI. We're going to talk about Watson, what it has been and what it is now, and most importantly, its applications in healthcare. So first, the perspective on AI, and you heard it earlier today. IBM thinks of it as augmenting intelligence, not as much as artifice to intelligence. We kind of believe in the perspective of a deep partnership between people and machines that understand and reason and learn. We call that cognitive computing. We call our system Watson, and we believe it's the first of its kind. So what do we mean, and why is that so important to think about the marriage of man and machine? So we think there's things that people do terrific that can't be replicated or mimicked by any machine. Self-directed goals, common sense, bring value, judgment. And there's things that machines do terrifically that humans could never touch upon on a massive scale. Things like large-scale math, pattern discovery, and statistical reasoning. So together, we think there's the power of the collaboration and the ability to elevate decision-making to a new level. I think it's really important, if you have a takeaway, that it is augmented intelligence. It's about helping people make better decisions, whatever those decisions might be, whatever industry they choose to participate in. I've personally spent 25 years focused on healthcare. So for me and for the other 5,000 people that are now part of Watson Health at IBM, it's about transforming healthcare and saving and improving lives. Before I give you a couple of examples on that front, I want to talk to you about what Watson is and what it is right now. So some people may have heard of Watson back in it was born of IBM research, introduced to the world through a Jeopardy show in 2011, where Watson sort of famously beat the two most winning Jeopardy champions ever. Interestingly, the first people that called IBM after that show were doctors and researchers. And it wasn't because of what Watson got right, it was because what Watson got wrong. And there were some notable questions that Watson was asked, and it didn't get them correctly. But it sort of knew that. It put up a confidence level of 4 or 5 question marks. It had to answer the question, but didn't really know the answer, and it sort of knew it didn't know the answer, and it wanted to clue you in. Well, instantly, MDs and PhDs saw the potential of a system that could take massive amounts of data, that could correlate and find patterns, that could integrate and derive insights, and that could give recommendations that were relative and had confidence levels. And that's why you see that now some of our first applications of Watson are in the healthcare arena, and particularly they're in what we call is our moonshot in cancer. And I'm going to talk about that. It's important to know that at that time in 2011, that the Watson technology was really a deep Q&A technology that was underpinned by a few areas of technology. Now, it's dozens and dozens of capabilities. We've taken those capabilities and underlying technologies and turned them into dozens of APIs. There's tens of thousands of developers that are building on Watson, companies big and small. There's hundreds and hundreds of businesses across every industry that are doing it. And I'll give you an example. There's a company, a startup company based right here in San Francisco called Teatros. And they're using Watson in a couple of different ways. In an application called CarePod, where they're finding new ways to have doctors and caregivers and allied health professionals all work together and bring in what's called the social determinants of health in our life, our education, our economics, in order to improve the standard of living for people that are extremely vulnerable. They're also working with UCSF on a study trying to find early indicators of PTSD as distinguished from just plain trauma, from veterans returning from war, and they've integrated Watson to give them more personalized answers. That's a tiny company of probably a couple dozen people. And I think that that's one of the most important things to remember when we talk about transforming healthcare, that we're a big tech company, right? We're a 100-plus-year-old tech company, IBM, and we talk about cloud and we talk about cognitive and bits and bytes, but healthcare is intensely personal. It's why I joined the company. It's why I kind of moved my life and my family to join this company. It's why our leadership has done so, because health, it's the great equalizer, right? Doesn't matter if you're young and old, doesn't matter how much money you have or how much education you have. Your healthcare is innate to who we are and the quality of our lives. So I just want you to look at this video for just 1 second.
My name is Watson. I'm helping doctors keep people healthy. Take Ted here. I'm pulling together data he shared from his wearables, health records and family history, so we can analyze it. He's doing everything right. For the most part.
I'm okay.
No pain, no gain. You are a beast, Ted. My name is Watson. How can I help you?
So if we take about it's all about being personal, to give you a sense of how we're collaborating across the healthcare community, and I think that's another thing that I would want you to take away as well, is that the perspective from IBM is that no one company can do this alone. It's going to take the entire set of stakeholders, the entire healthcare community working together in ways that we never have before. So we're going to talk about how we're helping from the bench to the bedside and beyond, right? So how we live our lives, because most of our lives are lived outside of doctors' offices and hospital walls. So in two key areas where we're reinventing discovery and reimagining delivery, I just want to give you a handful of examples. So I talked briefly in regard to, I'm going to go back to cancer in just a second. Let me talk to you a little bit about the areas of discovery. So in regard to discovery, we're working with really large companies, like a little company called Pfizer, you may have heard of, where we recently announced we're doing a very novel approach to looking at Parkinson's disease. We're going to be using sensors and big data and examining how people with Parkinson's disease are living their lives every day in order to better understand current medication regimens and also to inform new therapies, new pathways, and new types of medicines or devices that could help people improve their quality of life. On the other end, we are working with a tiny patient-driven nonprofit organization called the America Sleep Apnea Association. They were the first to build on Watson Health for Research Kit, which is part of our partnership with Apple. And what they built was the first sleep health study and wellness app that was launched. Within days, it became the largest ever sleep health study. They're going to make the data available to researchers around the world, not only to help address sleep disorders, like sleep apnea and things like that, but to look for correlations and patterns in sleep and what that might predict for other disease. There is early evidence that shows that sleep disturbances are early signs of things like depressions and Parkinson's and even diabetes. So on the delivery front, I could talk to you about a whole host of relationships and projects that we're doing. I'll talk for a minute about diabetes and what we're doing with Medtronic. So with Medtronic, we have a number of projects. Earlier this year at CES, we talked about a new app that we're developing with Medtronic that will help people with diabetes better self-manage their care. An early crunch of data revealed that Watson could accurately predict 3 hours ahead of time a low blood sugar or low hypoglycemic event, which anyone who knows anybody with diabetes could tell you is really kind of unheard of and is enough time to do something about it. And for a parent with a child with diabetes that could run the risk of having a low blood sugar event, that's a game changer. So it's super exciting. Medtronic will be introducing that app later this year, just later this summer. And I want to pause and talk for a minute about what we're doing in cancer. It's what we call our moonshot as a company. We recently announced a partnership with the American Cancer Society where we're going to be taking all the data they have and helping patients and caregivers get more personalized information about how they can get education and support that speaks to them, their cancer, their stage, their age, their needs, and their lives. We hope in the future to marry that up with something we've already had out for a little bit called Watson for Oncology, which is for hospitals and health systems to help doctors make more personalized decisions based on the individual characteristics of their patients. And imagine a future where the doctors get more information that I might need, God forbid, to help cure my cancer, and that I might be able to get more personalized support that speaks to how I live my life and how I'd like to receive information from the American Cancer Society. And imagine what that might mean for me and what the outcomes might be. So what do we think the future looks like of this partnership between human and machine? We think in the future that every knowledge worker in healthcare, and in fact in every industry, will have cognitive assistance. And note I said cognitive assistance and not cognitive assistant, right? It can come in forms and fashion. It's about working very collaboratively with technology that can inform and help you never replicate or replace that human judgment and that personal touch, especially in the areas that we think are most central to who we are, which is our health and wellness. And then just personally, on a personal note, I guess I would leave this notion that I do think the topic of AI is just very emotionally driven. And I think it's one of those areas where kind of rational minds can kind of lose their mind in the discussion. And I guess my personal perspective is seek to understand, not to fear. And when we understand more, we might fear less and find applications that can truly advance humankind. So thank you for your time.